Lauren, sit down before you embarrass us further. Miles Durant's voice cut through the conference room like a knife. I froze mid-sentence, my presentation clicker still raised. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward me. The client representatives from Westfield Industries sat motionless, their expressions unreadable. My cheeks burned as Miles stepped in front of me, blocking the projection screen. What Miss Keating meant to say, he continued with a condescending smile, is that our preliminary analysis suggests potential growth opportunities. Though, frankly, her junior-level thinking doesn't quite capture the sophisticated approach Halston and Bright provides our premium clients. Junior-level thinking. The words echoed in my skull. I had spent 3 weeks perfecting this analysis. I knew every data point, every projection, every risk factor. And Miles was dismantling my credibility in seconds. I apologize, I heard myself whisper, my voice shaking. I gathered my materials with trembling hands and returned to my seat at the back of the room. The silence that followed felt suffocating. I couldn't look at anyone. Through my blurred vision, I noticed something strange. The Westfield CEO wasn't nodding along with Miles. Instead, his jaw was tight, his eyes narrowed. Something about his expression didn't look impressed. It looked angry. 17 minutes after the meeting ended, my phone chimed. An email from Alexander Westfield himself appeared in my inbox. My stomach dropped. This was it, the formal complaint that would end my career at Halston and Bright. I opened it with shaking hands. Ms. Keating, I'm reaching out privately to understand what happened in today's presentation. Your preliminary analysis aligned perfectly with our strategic objectives, but Mr. Durant's revised approach contradicts several key priorities we discussed in our initial consultation. Could you clarify whether there was miscommunication within your team? I read it 3 times.
He wasn't angry at me.
He was questioning Miles. The email continued. For reference, the data Mr. Durant presented regarding our Q3 projections appears to be from last year's reporting cycle, not our current fiscal metrics. I'm concerned about the accuracy of the information being used to guide our potential partnership. My hands stopped shaking. Miles had used outdated data. He had undermined me with incorrect information, and the client had noticed. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. How should I respond? What could I even say without making things worse? I needed space to think. The main office felt suffocating, filled with pitying glances and whispered conversations. I remembered the old storage room on the 3rd floor, my father's former workspace before he passed away 2 years ago. Nobody used it anymore. The room was exactly as I remembered it. Dusty furniture, outdated filing cabinets, and the faint smell of his cologne still clinging to the leather chair. I ran my fingers along the desk surface, fighting back tears. That's when I saw it. A manila folder with my name written in his handwriting, tucked into the top drawer. My heart hammered as I opened it. Inside were legal documents, share certificates, ownership papers. The inheritance my step-uncle had been managing until I was ready to claim it. 23% of Halston and Bright Consulting belonged to me, making me the 2nd largest shareholder after the founding partners. I had avoided confronting this for 2 years, wanting to earn respect through my work, not my last name. But now, staring at these papers, I realized something had to change. A sticky note fell from the folder. Board meeting scheduled. Next Tuesday, 2 p.m. The next morning, the office felt different. Colleagues who usually chatted with me suddenly found reasons to hurry past my desk. The break room went silent when I entered. Finally, Marcus from accounting pulled me aside. "Lauren, I'm sorry about yesterday," he said quietly, glancing around nervously. Miles has done this before. Last year, he threw Vanessa under the bus during the Redfield pitch. She quit 2 weeks later. "Why didn't anyone say anything?" I asked. Marcus shrugged helplessly. "He's untouchable. The partners love him. His numbers look good on paper." He paused, lowering his voice further. "But I heard him talking to the directors this morning. He's blaming you for the Westfield meeting. Says you froze up and he had to salvage it." My hands clenched into fists. Not only had Miles humiliated me publicly, but now he was rewriting history to make himself the hero. "There's something else," Marcus added. You should check your project folders. Riley from IT mentioned something seemed off. Before I could respond, someone called Marcus back to his desk. I was left standing alone, my mind spinning with questions. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Patricia Vance in HR. She wore her professional smile, the one that never quite reached her eyes. Lauren, we wanted to touch base about yesterday's client meeting, she began, her tone carefully neutral. Just to understand your perspective on what happened. Her phrasing felt rehearsed. Not what Miles did or the incident, but my perspective, as if I were the problem. I was presenting my analysis when Miles interrupted. I said carefully. He dismissed my work in front of the client. Patricia nodded, writing notes that I couldn't read upside down. And, do you feel you were adequately prepared for the presentation? The question stung. I spent 3 weeks preparing. My analysis was thorough. Of course, she said, still smiling that empty smile. We just want to ensure everyone feels supported. As I stood to leave, Patricia's assistant, a young woman named Claire, walked past and dropped a pen. When I bent to pick it up, she pressed a folded note into my palm. Check your project folders. It read in hurried handwriting. My pulse quickened. This was the second warning. Back at my desk, I opened the shared project drive and navigated to my Westfield presentation folder. My stomach sank. The file showed it had been modified yesterday morning, 1 hour before the meeting. But I hadn't touched it since the night before. I opened the version history. Someone had replaced my final analysis with an earlier draft from 2 weeks ago. The outdated version that was missing my latest research, my updated projections, everything that made the presentation relevant to Westfield's current needs. The modification log showed who had accessed the file, Miles Durant. He hadn't just undermined me in the meeting. He had sabotaged my work beforehand, ensuring I would look incompetent. Then he'd swooped in to save the presentation with his own version, which, ironically, contained the outdated data the client had questioned. I took screenshots of everything. The timestamps, the version history, the access logs. My hands were steady now. The hurt was transforming into something sharper, more focused. Miles had crossed a line, and I had proof. Honestly, I saved that pitch. Miles's voice carried from the break room. I paused in the hallway just out of sight. Poor Lauren completely froze up. I had to step in before she cost us the contract. Laughter followed. My face burned. The client actually thanked me afterward. Miles continued. Said he appreciated my decisive leadership. That's the difference between someone who can handle pressure and someone who cracks. More laughter. Someone made a joke about junior-level thinking, and the whole group erupted. I pressed my back against the wall, breathing slowly. Part of me wanted to walk in there and confront him. Show everyone the proof of what he'd really done. But something held me back. Not yet. Not here. As I turned to leave, I heard Miles say something else. Between you and me, I'm putting together my promotion packet. This Westfield save is going right in there. Director-level material, don't you think? My jaw clenched. He was using my humiliation as a stepping stone for his own advancement. I returned to my desk and added this to my mental list. Everything Miles had done was building toward something. I just needed to be patient. The next afternoon, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I answered hesitantly. Ms. Keating, this is Alexander Westfield. Do you have a moment for a private conversation? My heart jumped. Of course, Mr. Westfield. I wanted to follow up on my email, he said, his tone professional but warm. I've reviewed the materials from our meeting, and frankly, I'm concerned. Your original analysis, the one I glimpsed before Mr. Durant took over, addressed exactly what we needed. His version seemed designed to steer us away from our stated objectives. I chose my words carefully. I apologize for any confusion during the presentation. You're not the one who should be apologizing, he said firmly. Ms. Keating, I've been in business for 30 years. I know when someone is being undermined. What I witnessed yesterday was unprofessional, and my team agrees. We'll be filing a formal observation with your company's leadership. My breath caught. A formal complaint? An observation, he corrected. We want to continue working with Halston and Bright, specifically with you. but we need assurance that future collaboration will be handled with the respect and accuracy we expect. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. The client wanted to work with me, not Miles. They were going to report his behavior. That evening, alone in my apartment, I finally went through the rest of my father's old files. Among the business documents, I found something unexpected, a voicemail saved to a small recording device. His voice filled the room, and tears immediately blurred my vision. Lauren, if you're listening to this, it means I'm gone, and you've found the courage to step into your inheritance. I want you to know what Halston and Bright was meant to be. Not just a consulting firm, but a place built on integrity, where people lead through respect, not fear, where humility matters more than ego. He paused, and I heard him take a breath. There will be people who forget these values. I've already seen it happening. There's a junior consultant, Miles Durant, who reminds me of everything I hoped we wouldn't become. Ambitious, yes, but cruel. Watch him, sweetheart. People like that rise quickly, but they leave damage in their wake. My father had warned me about Miles years before this moment. The recording was dated 4 years ago, when Miles had just started at the firm. Protect the company, Lauren. But more importantly, protect the people who make it worth protecting. I listened to the message 3 more times before I could move. The following Monday, my step-uncle Thomas called. He had been managing my shares as trustee since my father's death, waiting for me to decide when to step forward. The board has been asking questions, he said without preamble. They've heard rumors about the Westfield meeting. They want your version of events. What have they heard? I asked. Miles's version, naturally. That you had a panic attack during the presentation and he had to rescue the pitch. Thomas paused. But board members aren't stupid, Lauren. They've worked with you. They knew your father. This story doesn't add up. My heart pounded. What should I do? There's a board meeting next Tuesday, he said carefully. You have the right to attend as a shareholder. I've kept your ownership quiet because you asked me to, but maybe it's time to stop hiding. I thought about my father's voicemail, about the company he'd envisioned, about Miles celebrating his cruelty in the break room. I'll be there, I said. Good, Thomas replied. Because between you and me, there's a motion on the agenda to promote Miles to director. They're voting on it that same day. My stomach dropped. If Miles became a director, he'd have even more power, more people to hurt. Then I definitely need to be there. The next morning, Miles summoned me to a conference room. When I arrived, he wasn't alone. 2 senior managers sat on either side of him, witnesses. Lauren, we need to discuss your recent performance, Miles began, his voice dripping with false concern. Your behavior during the Westfield presentation raised some red flags about your readiness for client-facing work. I said nothing, keeping my expression neutral. Moving forward, I think it's best if you focus on back-office analysis. Internal projects only. He smiled. No need to put you in situations that cause you stress. I wasn't stressed, I said quietly. I was interrupted. His smile vanished. Let's not rewrite history, Lauren. Everyone in that room saw you freeze up. I'm trying to help you here. One of the managers shifted uncomfortably. The other stared at his notepad. Is this a formal performance review? I asked. It's a professional conversation, Miles replied smoothly. But if your attitude continues, it could become formal. Are we clear? Every instinct screamed at me to fight back, to show him the evidence, to expose him right there. But the board meeting was 6 days away. I could wait. Crystal clear, I said. That afternoon, Riley Bowers from IT appeared at my desk. We'd worked together occasionally, but weren't close. He glanced around nervously before sliding a printed email across my desk. You didn't get this from me, he whispered. The email was from Miles to the 2 managers who'd been in the meeting earlier. Sent 3 days before the Westfield presentation. Lauren Keating is becoming a problem. Too quiet to be useful in client meetings, but too proud to accept guidance. Keep documentation of any performance issues. We may need to manage her out. Manage me out. He'd been planning this before the presentation even happened. Why are you showing me this? I asked Riley. Because it's wrong, he said simply. Miles did the same thing to my friend last year. She ended up quitting. I couldn't help her then, but maybe I can help you now. He paused. Document everything. Timestamps, emails, witnesses. If you decide to fight this, you'll need proof. After he left, I created a new folder on my personal laptop. I titled it simply, Evidence. Everything I had, the altered files, the access logs, the Westfield email, now this message, went into that folder. I was building a case. 2 days before the board meeting, Claire from HR called me. Not through official channels, through her personal cell phone. We need to talk, she said urgently. Not here. Can you meet me after work? We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. Claire looked exhausted, her usual professional composure frayed. I could get fired for this, she began, but I can't stay quiet anymore. You're not the first person Miles has targeted. Over the past 2 years, 4 employees have filed complaints against him. Harassment, intimidation, credit stealing. What happened to the complaints? I asked. They disappeared. Claire's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Patricia made them vanish. I don't know if someone told her to or if she did it on her own, but the files don't exist anymore. No documentation, no investigation, nothing. My blood ran cold. Why would she protect him? I don't know, Claire admitted. But I made copies before the files disappeared. I've been too scared to use them, but if you're planning to do something... She slid a USB drive across the table. For people's stories. Their proof. Maybe it'll help. I took the drive with shaking hands. Thank you. Just promise me something, Claire said. Whatever you're planning, make it count. The rumors started the next day. Miles was pushing hard for his promotion to director, and the word around the office was that it was practically guaranteed. The board loves him. I overheard someone say in the elevator. Youngest director in company history. At lunch, I sat alone in my father's old office and plugged in Claire's USB drive. For detailed complaints, each following the same pattern. Miles would target someone, undermine their work, turn colleagues against them, then push them out. All while maintaining his perfect reputation with upper management. One complaint was from Vanessa Torres, the woman Marcus had mentioned. Her statement was heartbreaking. Miles systematically destroyed my confidence. He altered my reports, spread rumors about my competence, and isolated me from my team. When I finally confronted him, he told me I was too emotional for consulting work. I resigned because I couldn't take it anymore. But he shouldn't be allowed to do this to anyone else. But he had.
3 more times.
I was number 5. I added Claire's files to my evidence folder. The board meeting was tomorrow. Miles's promotion vote was tomorrow. Everything was converging. That evening, as I was preparing my materials for the board meeting, an email notification appeared. A message from Alexander Westfield to the Halston and Bright Executive Board, with me copied. The subject line read, Formal observation regarding recent client engagement. My heart hammered as I opened it. To the Halston and Bright leadership team, following our recent presentation meeting, I feel compelled to address concerns about the professionalism and accuracy of information presented by your team. Ms. Lauren Keating's preliminary analysis demonstrated thorough research aligned with our strategic needs. However, Mr. Miles Durant's intervention undermined both Ms. Keating's work and our confidence in the engagement. Furthermore, Mr. Durant's revised data contained significant inaccuracies that raised questions about quality control. We wish to continue our partnership with Halston and Bright, specifically with Ms. Keating leading our account. We trust this matter will be addressed appropriately. The email had been sent to every board member, including Miles. I immediately checked my sent folder, but I hadn't forwarded anything to Westfield. He had sent this entirely on his own initiative. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Too late to intercept. Board already saw it. Miles had tried to stop the email from reaching the board, but he'd failed. I spent that entire night organizing everything into a single presentation binder. Tab 1. Altered file evidence with timestamps showing Miles's access. Tab 2. Westfield's email praising my work and questioning Miles's data. Tab 3. Claire's USB files documenting the pattern of harassment. Tab 4. The internal message about managing me out. Each section was clearly labeled, chronologically ordered, and cross-referenced. As I worked, I discovered something else buried in Claire's files. A complaint from 9 months ago filed by a senior analyst named Marcus Holloway, the same Marcus who had warned me in the break room. His complaint detailed how Miles had stolen credit for a major project Marcus had led, then blamed him when a client raised concerns. Marcus had withdrawn his complaint after Patricia told him it would damage his career prospects to pursue it. Marcus had tried to fight back, but he'd been shut down. I wondered how many others had been silenced. How many people had evidence but were too afraid to use it. The binder grew thicker. By midnight, it was comprehensive, damning, and irrefutable. Tomorrow, everything would change. Miles found me in the hallway the next morning. His usual confidence seemed strained, his smile forced. "Lauren, hey," he said, falling into step beside me. "I wanted to check in. You've seemed stressed lately. Are you doing okay?" The sudden concern was jarring and transparent. "I'm fine," I replied evenly. Good, good.
He paused.
"Look, I know I've been tough on you. It's just, this business requires thick skin, you know? I'm only trying to prepare you for the real challenges." I stopped walking and turned to face him. His eyes searched mine, looking for something. Fear, maybe. Submission. "Is there something specific you wanted to ask me, Miles?"
His jaw tightened.
"Are you planning to attend any meetings this week? Board sessions, executive briefings, anything like that?" So he knew, or suspected. Why would I attend board meetings? I asked innocently. Relief flickered across his face. No reason. Just making conversation. He patted my shoulder with false warmth. "Anyway, take care of yourself, okay? Don't let work stress get to you." As he walked away, I realized he was afraid. He sensed something coming but couldn't pinpoint what. Good. That afternoon, my step-uncle Thomas called with alarming news. "I just received the official board meeting agenda," he said, tension in his voice. "Lauren, your name isn't on the attendance list."
"What?"
"But you said I had the right to attend as a shareholder." "You do. But someone removed you from the roster. The board secretary claims she never received confirmation of your attendance, even though I submitted it a week ago." My stomach dropped. "Who has access to modify the attendance list?" "Board members and senior directors," Thomas said grimly. "I'm making calls now to fix this, but the meeting starts in 4 hours. This might be deliberate interference." I gripped the phone tighter. After everything I'd prepared, someone was trying to block me from attending. What do I do? "Show up anyway," Thomas said. "I'll meet you there, and we'll fight our way in if we have to. Bring your evidence. We're not letting them shut you out." After hanging up, I stared at the binder on my desk. Someone knew I was planning to attend, and they were trying to stop me. An hour before the board meeting, my supervisor appeared at my desk. "Lauren, emergency site visit. Client issue at the Oakmont facility. You need to head out there immediately." I blinked. "Now?" "I have." "Now," he interrupted firmly. "It's urgent. The client specifically requested someone from our team. It's about 4 hours away, so you'd better leave now." 4 hours away. During the exact window of the board meeting. "Can someone else handle it?" I asked carefully. "It's not optional, Lauren. This is part of your job." His expression softened slightly. "Look, I know you've had a rough week, but we need you to be a team player here." This was Miles's doing. I knew it. I texted Thomas. "They're sending me away. Emergency site visit during the meeting." His response came immediately. "Don't go. Call in sick. Flat tire. Anything." But my supervisor was still standing there, waiting. Other colleagues were watching. If I refused outright, it would give Miles ammunition. "I'll head out now," I said slowly, my mind racing for a solution. I was halfway to Oakmont when Riley Bowers called. "Lauren, where are you? I heard about the site visit." "Driving to Oakmont," I said, frustration bleeding into my voice. "That's insane. There's no client emergency. I checked with Oakmont this morning for an unrelated issue. They're not expecting anyone." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. It's fake. Completely. Miles scheduled it himself this morning. He told your supervisor it was urgent. Riley paused. But here's the thing. I'm already in Oakmont for actual IT maintenance. If you need to verify there's no emergency and turn around quickly, I can document it. Hope flared. How quickly? I can meet you at the facility in 20 minutes, confirm there's no issue, and you can head back. You'll be cutting it close, but you might make the meeting. 40 minutes later, Riley had provided written confirmation that Oakmont had no emergency and hadn't requested any consultants. I was back on the road, driving faster than I should, my phone navigation showing I'd arrive at the office with maybe 10 minutes to spare. Then Thomas called. Lauren, Miles just told the board you were too distressed to attend today's meeting. My foot pressed harder on the accelerator. I arrived at headquarters with 7 minutes until the meeting started. My hair was disheveled, my blazer wrinkled from the car, but I had my binder and Riley's documentation. As I rushed toward the boardroom, an elderly man stepped into my path. Gerald Hansen, one of the founding board members and my father's closest friend. Lauren Keating, he said warmly, his eyes crinkling. I wondered if you'd make it. Mr. Hansen, I need to get to the board meeting. I know. He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. Your father told me years ago that when the time came, you have the courage to step forward. He said, Gerald, I trust Lauren more than I trust the numbers on our balance sheet. That's the highest praise I ever heard him give. Tears pricked my eyes. He said that. He did. Gerald glanced toward the boardroom. Miles Durant tried to have you removed from the attendance list. He's in there right now claiming you're unfit to participate in company matters. But you have every right to be in that room, and I'm going to make sure you get there. He offered his arm. Shall we? Together, we walked toward the boardroom. When Miles saw me enter, all color drained from his face. The boardroom fell silent as Gerald escorted me to an empty seat. Miles stood at the front, mid-sentence in what appeared to be a prepared speech. As I was saying, Miles continued, his voice strained, we need to protect this company from incompetence and instability. Recent events have demonstrated that some team members simply aren't equipped. Mr. Durant, Gerald interrupted calmly, I believe we should hear from Ms. Keating before proceeding with your evaluation. Miles's jaw clenched. With respect, Mr. Hansen, Ms. Keating isn't on today's agenda. She's a shareholder, Gerald replied. She is standing to address this board. Lauren? Every eye turned to me. My heart hammered, but I stood and placed my binder on the table. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I began, my voice steadier than I felt. I have evidence regarding a pattern of misconduct that this board needs to see. Miles went pale. This is highly irregular. Let her speak, another board member said quietly. I opened the binder and began walking them through everything. The altered files with timestamps. The fake emergency site visit. Westfield's complaint. Claire's documented cases. The message about managing me out. The room was absolutely silent except for my voice. When I finished, Miles looked like he might be sick. This is clearly a vendetta, he stammered. Lauren has been struggling, and now she's trying to. We have additional complaints, the board chair interrupted, opening her own folder. 3 more came forward this morning after hearing Ms. Keating might attend this meeting. People who were too afraid to speak up before. Miles's world was crumbling in real time. The board deliberated for 15 minutes while Miles and I waited outside in separate areas. When they called us back in, the chair's expression was grave. Mr. Durant, based on the evidence presented and our own investigation, the board has voted unanimously to suspend you effective immediately pending a full review. Security will escort you from the building. Miles opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. You can't. I've brought millions of dollars to this firm. You've also cost us talented employees and client trust, Gerald said quietly. Your employment is terminated. 2 security officers appeared. Miles looked around the room desperately, searching for an ally. He found none. As they escorted him out, he passed my chair. For just a moment, our eyes met. You'll regret this, he whispered. No, I replied softly. You will. After he was gone, the board chair turned to me. Ms. Keating, we owe you an apology. We should have seen this pattern earlier. What happens now?
I asked.
We need interim leadership for Miles's accounts, she said carefully. Given your relationship with Westfield and your clear competence, would you consider taking a temporary leadership role? We'd formalize it with appropriate title and compensation. I thought about my father's voice on that recording, about protecting the people who made this company worth protecting. Yes, I said. I'll do it. The news spread through the office within hours. Miles Durant, the untouchable rising star, had been terminated. People emerged from their offices, whispering, questioning, trying to understand what had happened. I called a meeting with everyone who had worked under Miles's supervision. 23 people crowded into the largest conference room, their expressions ranging from confused to hopeful. I know you have questions, I began. I want you to know that what happened today wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability. Miles created a toxic environment that hurt people. That ends now. A young intern raised her hand tentatively. What happens to us? You keep your jobs. You'll report to me temporarily while we restructure. I paused. And if Miles retaliated against any of you, or if you experienced harassment you were afraid to report, my door is open. No judgment, no consequences. Just honesty. After the meeting, 3 people stayed behind. Each had their own story of how Miles had hurt them. Each had been too afraid to speak up. You're safe now, I told them. I promise. That afternoon, I met with HR to restructure their complaint process. Patricia Vance was notably absent. She'd resigned that morning. The work of rebuilding had begun. 2 weeks later, I sat in my new office, not Miles's old space, but a renovated corner office that had been empty for years. Through the window, I could see the city skyline my father had loved. The Westfield contract had been finalized that morning. Alexander Westfield himself had flown in to sign it personally, insisting on working exclusively with me. It was the largest contract in company history. Gerald Hansen knocked on my open door, a small envelope in his hand. Your father left this with me, he said, handing it over. He made me promise to give it to you when you stepped into your power. I think that time is now. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting, dated 3 years ago. My dearest Lauren, if you're reading this, you found the courage I always knew you had. You've stopped hiding behind your work and claimed the legacy you've earned, not through inheritance, but through character. I knew this day would come. I knew someone would try to break you, and I knew you'd rise stronger. This company needs people like you, not because of your last name or your shares, but because you understand what I tried to build, a place where integrity matters more than ego, where people are valued, not used. You'll restore the heart of this company, sweetheart. I've always believed that. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. Love, Dad. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I pressed the letter to my chest. Through the window, the afternoon sun painted the skyline gold. I had stopped hiding. I had found my voice, and I was finally, truly home.